Good morning. Fellow South Africans, Cabinet set on Wednesday, the 26th of April, 2023, on issues of the environment as it relates to the South African Investment Conference. Cabinet acknowledged the attainment of the 1.2 trillion rand investment mobilization goal that was set by President Ramaphosa in 2018. Investment commitments made at the 5th South African Investment Conference enabled government to exceed the set target by 300 billion rands. Although much work still needs to be done to ensure that South Africa reclaims its place as an investment destination of first preference, the achievement of the 1.2 trillion rands investment mobilization target confirms the confidence of domestic and international investors in South Africa's value proposition. To date, 82 projects to the value of 170.7 billion rands have been completed. 79 projects to the value of 514 billion rands are under construction, and 28 projects to the value of 132.9 billion rands are in the early stages of implementation. These projects include building of new factories, purchasing equipment, sinking mine shafts, and rolling out broadband infrastructure. The government is hard at work to address investment limiting challenges facing the country as the task of mobilizing the 2 trillion rands in investment of the second round of investment mobilization commences. On the International Criminal Court, Cabinet reaffirms South Africa's participation in the International Criminal Court, the ICC, and confirms that we remain a signatory to the Rome Statute. South Africa will continue to advocate for strengthening institutions of global governance, and we continue to campaign for equal and consistent application of international law. The President appointed an interministerial committee, commonly known as the IMC, that is chaired by the Deputy President, His Excellency Deputy President Mashatile, that is considering various options on the matter of the ICC as it relates to the visits of some of our guests during the BRICS summit in the country. On the African Continental Free Trade Business Forum, South Africa co-hosted the first AFCFTA Business Forum in Cape Town from the 16th to the 18th April 2023, with the aim of accelerating the implementation of the AFCFTA and activating trade and investment. Approximately 1,000 delegates from across the African continent attended. The deliberations over the three-day event focused on strategic economic sectors such as automotive, pharmaceutical, agriculture and agro-processing, leather and footwear, transport and logistics infrastructure, and the digital economy, including digital trade. Boosting South Africa's productive capacity in all sectors of the economy was boosting Africa's productive capacity in all sectors of the economy was widely recognized as a prerequisite for the successful implementation of the AFCFTA. The private sector was called upon to identify opportunities to increase investment in regional value chains and development of local manufacturing capacities to increase intra-Africa trade of products and services made in Africa. On electricity demand management, one of the easiest ways we can all help to keep the lights on is by lowering electricity usage, especially during the periods of high energy consumption, typically from 5 p.m. to 9 p.m. As part of the demand-side management initiatives, by lowering our consumption, we can create a win-win situation that both reduces pressure on the power grid and saves households money without affecting business productivity or quality of life. Cabinet calls on everyone to assist in saving electricity by using it sparingly while Eskom works with independent power producers to bring new capacity online. The demand-side management measures are a global phenomenon and have proved effective in reducing peak demand and promoting energy conservation. We have demonstrated this during the 2010 World Cup. The aim is that collectively we must save electricity by switching off non-essential appliances, using gas to cook, installing energy-efficient light bulbs, and switching off appliances like geysers when not in use. The target is to save about 1,000 megawatts of power, which is equivalent to one stage of load shedding. Cabinet knows that a number of large customers are already participating in the Eskom's side initiatives, and calls on all stakeholders from business, industry, and residential customers to heed the call and join the demand-side management campaign. On water access, Cabinet welcomed the opening of the completed Spring Grove water treatment plant by Minister Senzo Mchunu of Water Affairs and Sanitation, a plant in Rosetta and Bretonville Reservoir as part of the Greater Mpofana bulk water supply scheme in Moy River in Umgungundlovu district of KZN. This project brings reliable water supply and dignity to 130,000 residents in the district, along with the social and economic benefits that flow from the supply of water. Cabinet also noted that progress is being made on the Giyani Water Project, with 24 out of 55 villages identified to benefit from the project will soon have water. On Electoral Amendment Act, Cabinet acknowledged the signing into law of the Electoral Amendment Bill of 2022 by President Ramaphosa. The updated legislation provides the legal certainty required to prepare the country for the 2024 general elections. The amended Electoral Act provides for the inclusion of independent candidates as contestants to elections in the National Assembly and provincial legislatures. The Electoral Amendment Bill expands electoral participation and leadership choices for the citizens of South Africa beyond political parties in the National Assembly and provincial legislatures. On Freedom Day, the various Freedom Day celebrations held across the country yesterday on the 27th of April 2023 reminded us that our common national identity is built on respect for each other and our passion for and pride in our country. The National Freedom Day commemoration, which took place at Dr. Kenneth Kaunda District Municipality in Northwest Province, was convened under the theme Consolidating and Safeguarding Democratic Gains. The Freedom Day 2023 coincides with the 27th anniversary of the enactment of the Constitution and marked 29 years of freedom. On international relations, President Cyril Ramaphosa hosted President Hage Geingob of Namibia during a state visit aimed at further strengthening the deep historical ties shared between our two nations. Discussions between the two heads of state and ministerial delegations centered on bilateral relations, collaboration between our two countries on global issues, and cooperation in trade and investment. This partnership will be further cemented by hosting of a business forum, was further strengthened by the hosting of the business forum between the companies from the two countries in Namibia later this year. President Cyril Ramaphosa also hosted the Finnish President Sauli Niinisto on the 25th of April for a state visit. Relations between South Africa and Finland are deep-rooted and born out of Finland's strong support for South Africa's liberation movements. The relations between the two countries have grown steadily since 1994, with Finland investing more than 2 billion rands in South Africa in the last 3 years. Evacuation of South Africans and other nations from Sudan. Cabinet welcomed a report setting out the complex but successful evacuations of South Africans from Sudan, where conflict is impacting on citizens and nationals from other countries. The Department of International Relations and the South African Air Force worked together to bring South Africans to safety. The South African evacuation mission also assisted nationals from Angola, Namibia, Zimbabwe, Lesotho, and Brazil. Cabinet expressed its appreciation to the government of Egypt for supporting our evacuation mission and the United Arab Emirates for evacuating one South African who is now being assisted by our mission in Jeddah to return home. There are 5 South Africans who are still in Sudan because at the time of evacuation, they had not made contact with our embassy. Cabinet is appealing to South Africans to always notify our missions of their presence when traveling abroad, including for holidays. We are going to return the 5 that are in Sudan. We are coordinating their rescue. In that mission to get them evacuated, will also assist other nations that have requested us to evacuate their nationals. Cabinet has reiterated a call for an end to hostilities in Sudan and calls for peace and calm among the parties involved in the conflict, in keeping with the African Union objective of silencing the guns on the continent. Investment on higher education facilities. On the 24th of April 2023, Minister Nzimande unveiled 2 buildings at the University of Western Cape, funded through the department's Infrastructure and Efficiency Grant and Sibusiso Bhengu Development Program. The first facility was a new education faculty building known as the South Campus Education Precinct Project to the value of 268,569 million rands, funded through both the IEG and SBDP. And it was used funds from both the IEG and SBD was used to upgrade an existing building that previously was housing the chemistry, mathematics, computer science, and statistics faculty. And the second one was Unibel Residence, which was funded to the tune of 670 million through the IEG and DBSA loan for the construction of 2,720 bed student housing project consisting of 4 floors per block, with 6 blocks constructed on a site, Bella, adjoining the main Belleville campus. Also, on the 21st of April 2023, Minister Nzimande unveiled 2 buildings and an IT hub in Mthatha at the Walter Sisulu University, funded through the Infrastructure and Efficiency Grant and Sibusiso Bengu Development Program. These buildings are located in Nelson Mandela Drive and Zamkulungisa Drive delivery sites. The one is the East Teaching Mall to the value of 25.971 million, funded through the IEG, which was used to complete the refurbishment of 19 lecture halls and 13 tutorial rooms for the teaching and learning at Nelson Mandela Drive delivery site. And the student residence to the value of 52.799 million, funded through the IEG, which was used to complete the refurbishment of the KTC and KGB student residence with a total of 314 student beds at the Nelson Mandela Drive delivery site. The IT hub was to the value of 14.135 million rands, funded through the SBDP and used to complete the construction of a new IT hub which will serve as the multifunctional space for students and lecturers at Zamkulungisa delivery site. In terms of cabinet decisions, appointments, and these appointments are subject to verifications of qualifications and relevant security clearances. First is Mr. Siyabonga Charles Zama, appointed as the Deputy Director General of Informal Settlements, Upgrading and Emergency Housing in the Department of Human Settlements. 2 is Ms. Zenkosi Dumile Mhlongo, appointed as Deputy Director General, Research Policy, Strategy and Planning in the Department of Human Settlements. Third, Mr. Jabulani Yu Tlatswayo, who's appointed as the Deputy Director General, Information and Communication Technology in the Department of Justice and Constitutional Development. Fourth, Mr. Dipenene Sekhare, as appointed as Deputy Director General, Agriculture Production, Health and Food and Safety and Disaster Management in the Department of Agriculture, Land Reform and Rural Development. Fifth, Ms. Tlengiwe Bengu, as Chief Financial Officer at the Department of International Relations and Cooperation. Sixth is Ms. Lucy Bele, as Chief Financial Officer at the Department of Human Settlement. Cabinet also concurred with the following appointments: to the Board of Directors of the Water Research Commission, Dr. Ritabile Milamu, who's the Chairperson, Dr. Harrison Pinar, Deputy Chairperson, Professor Nene Sekhabi, Mr. Willem Beard, Advocate Renate Mary Rose, Professor Aldo Strubel, Ms. Zama Poshia Dlamini, Dr. Tendai Sawunyama, Ms. Nkuli Mkenge Mayende, and Ms. Megan Skalkvik. And also make concurrence to the Board of the National Lotteries Commission. Appointments are Ms. Berly Ferguson, Ms. Precious Mvulane, Mr. Vili Hofmeyer, Mr. Tembiko Sibonakele, Mr. Lionel October, and Ms. Irene Ramafula. Members of the Mine Health and Safety Council, Mr. David Msiza, Chairperson, Mr. Kolile Mbonambi, Dr. Lindy Wendelu, Mr. Ndibuza Victor Mahwasane, Ms. Constance Titi Kekana, who's an alternate member, Dr. Dipalisa Mubokoto, who's an alternating member, Mr. Mtokozi Sizondi, Mr. Tabongwenya, who's an alternate member, Mr. Maswele Lenaki, Ms. Naledi Tsipani, who's an alternate member, Ms. Melanie Roy, and Mr. Victor Hadebe, who's an alternate member, Mr. Nicholas van Rooyen, Mr. Jay White as an alternate member, Dr. Paul Madden, and Mr. Johan du Toit Boyning as an alternate member, Mr. Putuma Manyati and Mr. Gabriel Nkosi as alternate member, Dr. Tutula Balfo, Mr. Vijay Nundal, Mr. Stuart Sipitla, Mr. Ronald Mafuko, Mr. Joseph Pakati, an alternate member, Ms. Letitia van der Berg, and Dr. Joseph Machila as an alternate member. Upcoming events: Africa Month. South Africa will mark Africa Month and Africa Day in May 2023 along with the rest of the continent. On the 25th of May 2023, Africa will celebrate the 60th anniversary of the Organization of African Unity, OAU. This month is an opportunity to promote African unity, deeper regional integration, and recommit Africa to common destiny. Cabinet calls on all South Africans to work together and strive to build a better, more united, and prosperous continent. National orders. President Cyril Ramaphosa will bestow national orders on South Africans and eminent foreign nationals on 28th April 2023, immediately after this briefing. The national orders are the highest awards that our country bestows on its citizens and eminent foreign nationals who have contributed towards the advancement of democracy and have made a significant impact on improving the lives of South Africans. The national orders also recognize the contributions made by individuals towards building a non-racial, non-sexist, democratic, and prosperous South Africa as envisaged in our Constitution. Budget votes. In May, government departments will present their budget votes to Parliament. Budget votes combine a review of a department's performance during the past financial year, as well as its plans for the implementing the commitments set out by the President in the State of the Nation address. Cabinet calls on citizens to closely follow the budget votes to see how respective departments will prioritize service delivery in the period ahead. On May 4th, 2023, the Minister of Human Settlements, Ms. Mamluko Kubai, will lead an Imbizo and service fair in Soweto as part of the build-up to their budget vote on the 10th of May 2023. This event will address challenges in the human settlement portfolio local residents are experiencing, as well as promote sector programs which benefit communities from this portfolio. Workers' Day or May's Day. Workers' Day will be commemorated on Monday, 1st May 2023 in recognition of the pivotal role that workers play in building the economy and society as envisaged in the National Development Plan. Workers' Day allows us to reflect on the gains workers have secured during the 29 years of freedom and to identify the challenges workers face in a constrained economy. It is also a day for us to recommit ourselves to doing all we can to create opportunities for millions of South African workers who are unemployed and are unable to exercise their skills or provide for themselves and those around them. Government's commitment is to improve workplace conditions and equity in the labor market as reflected in significant amendments to the Compensation for Occupational Injuries and Diseases Act and the Employment Equity Act, which were recently signed into law by President Ramaphosa. World Press Freedom Day. South Africa will join the rest of the world in commemorating World Press Freedom Day on 3rd May 2023. This day provides us with an opportunity to celebrate and assess the state of the media freedom in our society, as well as the challenges faced by the media and the role played by the rapidly evolving media in our society. A free and independent media is an integral part of any democracy and will continue to ensure the media is free to report accurately, fairly, and independently. Netball World Cup. With less than 100 days to the start of the first Netball World Cup to be held on African soil from the 28th of July to the 6th of August, Cabinet calls on the nation to roll out the red carpet once again as host nation for an international event. With the Netball World Cup taking place in Cape Town, South Africa will build on its proven track record in successful mega events, including the recent Formula E Cape Town E-Prix. Lessons learned from hosting these events have been integrated into our planning to ensure that sporting fans and visitors to our shores have an enjoyable and safe stay. Cabinet calls on everyone to support Netball Fridays, a campaign which encourages everyone to dress up in their supporters' outfits every Friday to show their support for the South African Netball national team, and who are known as the Spar Proteas, and they've been doing outstandingly well. And we call upon everyone to really embrace the Netball Fridays to show our commitment to the equality of sport, but also our commitment to recognize the contribution of female athletes in the and sports people in the contribution of national social cohesion and building this nation. The 16th meeting of Conference of Parties, or COP16, to the Basel Convention. South Africa will participate at COP16 to the Basel Convention to be held in Geneva, Switzerland from the 1st to the 2nd of May 2023. The Basel Convention was put in place to protect human health and the environment against adverse effects that may result from the movement of hazardous waste. South Africa acceded to this convention on 5th May 1994. Cabinet has approved South Africa's negotiating mandate for the COP16 to the Basel Convention. COP16 will be held back-to-back with the 11th meeting of the Conference of the Parties to the Rotterdam Convention on the prior informed consent procedure for certain hazardous chemicals and pesticides in internal trade. This treaty promotes shared responsibility and cooperation among parties in the international trade of hazardous chemicals. South Africa ratified these treaties because they have positive implications for the environment and human health. On messages of congratulations, Cabinet extended its congratulations and well wishes to the family and friends of jazz legend Hugh Masekela. Brayu was posthumously inducted into the Ettingan Hall of Fame in New York. The late South African musician joins inductees such as Louis Armstrong, Nat King Cole, and Miles Davis. Cabinet also acknowledged Hot 102.7 FM for being honored as a finalist in 4 categories at the 2023 New York Festival's Radio Awards in the United States, which celebrates industry players from over 30 countries. On condolences, Cabinet expressed its condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Harry Belafonte, the internationally acclaimed American singer, actor, and activist. He was an erudite campaigner for civil rights for African Americans, and he brought global attention to the anti-apartheid struggle. He played a crucial role in launching the international careers of South African musicians Miriam Makeba and Hugh Masekela, which exposed the world to South African melodies, harmonies, and rhythms, which communicated all our dimensions of life in South Africa and centrally our struggle for freedom. We convey condolences to the family and friends of Mr. Tiego Moseneke, a prominent lawyer, businessman, and former student activist. To the family and friends of Mr. Mbulelo Musi, a former Umkhonto weSizwe operative and commissar, part of the June 16, 1976 activist, a highly regarded and accomplished public servant and veteran communicator who served government with distinction. To the family and friends of former Free State Premier Beatrice Mashov, who selflessly served the people of South Africa in many roles throughout her long life and distinguished careers. To the family and friends of Mr. Loyiso Nkotla, a community activist who dedicated his life to improve the lives of underserviced communities of the Western Cape Townships. He was killed while conducting community facilitation for the relocation of people residing along the railway line in preparation for the restoration of the Central Line train service. Cabinet directed law enforcement to bring to book those responsible for the murder of Mr. Nkotla. Cabinet extends well wishes for the speedy recovery of those who were injured during the incident that led to the loss of life of Mr. Nkotla. To the families and friends of Kobile Zulu 5 and his friend Tsiamo Ramanye 6, whose bodies were found mutilated in Soweto on Thursday, 20 April 2023. Cabinet condemns the gruesome murders in the strongest possible terms and calls on the public to assist the police in finding the perpetrators. And we are not happy, but we are consoled to report that one of the perpetrators have been arrested. 8 members of the Memela family from the Imbali township in Pietermaritzburg who were shot dead, as well as 2 women who were visitors in their home on Friday the 21st of April 2023. Cabinet commends the police for speedily tracking down the alleged suspects and for recovering the 3 firearms. One suspect was shot dead in an exchange of fire with the police. On Friday, 21st April 2023, a second suspect was wounded and taken into custody, and one suspect has fled, and the police are hot on his trail. Thank you.